Discretion is advised.
Some viewers may find this disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Cameras, lights, action. And do you know what? We're rocking. Finally, guys. Oh my God. Right. Look, so this is crazy, right? Let's just jump into this very, very quickly while it still works. We've had a nightmare. We have had an absolute nightmare in getting this show off the road tonight. Look, all I'm going to say is this. We went to YouTube. We've gone back to Facebook. We started from Facebook over to YouTube. The editing for me on this episode tonight is going to be atrocious. All right. I'm going to do my best with it, but it is going to be atrocious. But anyway, thanks guys for bearing with us. Everybody's gone. Hope you all do come back. If I was you, I wouldn't. Would you, Graham?
What, to listen to you?
Not a chance.
So there might be someone out there that likes to listen to you or hear from you, Ben.
Very unlikely, but thank you. I like your enthusiasm. We are now, just bear with me because I need to do something for you guys, and I think this will just set the tone. I think this will just set the tone nicely.
Okay. Turn it up. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
I mean, that's all I can do. I mean, what else can I do about that? I think that was the only thing that was left for that moment in time. Anyway, yeah, so without any more silly business. Right, so, Graham, we have our special guest. He is in the waiting room. He will be joining us he has arrived in his car swiftly. Poor lad.
Yeah.
Don't blame him.
To the studio?
I would run away, wouldn't you? He's going to come in at 8:30, but we want to touch on a couple of things prior to that. So I'm glad that we are back up and running. And Robin says, looking good so far. No, do you know what, mate? To you, my friend, thank you for bearing with us. Honestly, I really am grateful that you've taken the time to come back on us, because I really don't know what's happened, Graham. Honestly, everything was working fine. It froze, and then we had to go to YouTube, and then we had some feedback, and then I had to come back to Facebook, and now it seems to be working. So fingers crossed, we can continue on with the show. Graham, I'm going to play it over to you right now because there's something that you want to talk about, and because obviously I've delayed us enough. Blame me, guys. Blame the man with the tools. Not the tools, but the man. All right? Yeah, that's a like there for Robin. Thank you very much. Yeah, all looks good so far. That's completely thrown me, mate. Isn't it you?
Well, it's very strange. The whole situation. It's annoying. It's frustrating, especially yesterday's feed. I think went quite well. I think it's probably one of our best.
Yesterday went very well. We had time to prepare, didn't we? That was the thing, and not just that, but yeah, we had a very good structure. We've been very busy today, haven't we, two of us, and we've been in other meetings with other things.
Well, we had a meeting that overran, wasn't it? So yeah,
it overran indeed. But Graham, we've spoken already, haven't we, about the debate? We talked about that earlier about the political debate. Thing. Clubs and groups that can get together, and we can do it through Zoom, obviously. But again, I mentioned that earlier, and that will be available for viewers to come back to later from the Ben&Grem Show page. I'll edit that, and then I'll put that up, so you can catch up on that later. But so all is not lost, guys. It might have been a bit patchy this evening, but the data is still there. All right, so don't worry. That is the benefit of editing. All right, so edit away, we are fine. Graham, what do you want to talk about? Because there's something you wanted to bring up before we had some technical issues, and what was it?
Well, this is embarrassing. I've forgotten now. Honestly, it's really embarrassing because with all this, like, go to YouTube and then we're getting that live feed and the fact that it's actually on YouTube now and people can watch it back is probably going to be one of our best viewed clips, and the comments are probably going to be rather enlightening if anyone's already commented on it, but never mind.
Yes, well, yes. Do you know what? It's funny because I've just got the guy, the producer, in my ear. We haven't got a producer anyway. What am I talking about? No, I just had a birdie come by, telling me that, as I said, you know, I said earlier, Graham, about just recently ago, actually, in fact, about our guy that's just come to the studio or to the
yeah.
Well, he's here, and I'm just mentioning to him that we will be with him very, very shortly because time is pressing. But yeah, 8:30 we'll bring him in, and I hope he's watching the stream. And he's been great. He's been a really good follower, hasn't he? Up to now, he's been engaging with us, and he's been really good, hasn't he?
Yeah, it has been good. I just want to hope. I just want this to go well.
It's gone well. Look,
it's a shame that it's all got issues with technology. Honestly, I mean, but we need technology to be able to do this.
There is nothing wrong with like I said before. There's nothing wrong with failure, is there? Graham, you sent me something, and I'm just going to have a look at it because it's for the viewers, right? This is for the viewers, and I'm glad people are sticking around. We could have lost everybody right now, couldn't we? But I think the fact is people are human, right? We all make mistakes, and sometimes we don't know what the mistakes are until we learn by them. And like I said earlier, so let's have a look. So we've got a few things to discuss. We are going to discuss news of the week.
Yeah, well, we can pick a story, a topic, because we basically got 8 minutes.
We have. We'll make it brief, and then we'll bring our guest in. Yeah, I'm just so pleased, guys, for you guys as well, that the stream is working so far. I'm really pleased about that. It's really frustrated me, and it frustrated you, Grim. What was that all about?
Oh, it's just frustrating. It is.
It is, because we were on a roll, guys, weren't we? And we had a few followers in. I hope your friends will come back. You know, we have another viewer who is also watching. She won't have to worry about comments on YouTube now. That's the main thing. We haven't got to worry about that for the moment. So we are still on Facebook for information.
I really don't mind, actually. I think it'd be quite funny, as long as they're not nasty, because they can see that, you know.
Do you know what? Just for the viewers on the Ben&Grem Show, Graham, I'm going to edit the errors. Yeah, why not? Chuck it in.
Oh, well, if you'd done that, it would be the theme tune, and then it'd go off.
No. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play it out as it happened. All right, we're not gonna edit it out. That's what I meant. So we're gonna leave it.
Oh,
okay, it's gonna
look at the worry in my eyes.
Oh yeah, me too. But at the end of the day, you've got to laugh about your mistakes, haven't you? All right, and it is a real mess up. All right, but we're gonna. I think that's what makes the show, right? Sometimes I don't think you can't all be perfect, like I said before. So we will do that. Okay, we will edit it. We'll edit the show for YouTube, and then we'll post it on our page. But what we'll do, you see, is we will leave some of the hiccups. I just think that'd be fun.
Boopers, or something. Call it boopers.
It will be boopers. Yeah, boopers. Yeah. It will be banned. Absolutely. You have to have a bit of bans. We will list it that there was a few errors as well, just for those that didn't know about it. But why not? You can't always be serious, can you? That's the main important thing. Yeah, it will be banned. Yeah, Robin says it will be banned. So I think it will be indeed. And thank you for seeing the funny side, guys. Yes, we got just a few more minutes. So and then we'll bring our guest in. We have a number of things going on. What's going on, Graham? What's going on?
Well, news of the week at the moment. Let's touch on. This should concern quite a lot of people. At least 30,000 pubs and restaurants are to remain shut post-COVID. This is at May the 22nd.
Right. What's going on about that? Do you think it will?
Well, it's a possibility that pubs may be closed until Christmas due to this lockdown, the social distancing issue. I'm not sure if Weatherspoons in Dover is one of the Weatherspoons they've chose to open. They've tables as such.
Okay.
And not having a stand-in or a bar, but you don't really sit at the bar in Weatherspoons anyway, do you?
No. Actually, I don't think they need to worry too much about pubs. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say why I say this. It is because, social distancing, okay? So as long as people are, again, utilising the social distancing rule, as long as they're within reason, respecting that, they can sit away from one another. But the point being is that if they have a system in these pubs that, bearing in mind the situation as it is, you could get the pubs landlords or landladies or staff to bring the drinks to you, right? So if you're going in the garden, presumably because the weather's nice, beer garden, or out in the 8 Bells, I don't know, even if you're inside, as long as you're keeping social distancing, I can't see why there's a problem there. But that has to be adhered to. Now, I suppose you could say, Graham, couldn't you, that, of course, once the drink gets flowing and people are getting a little bit leery, that might all go out the window, which is probably what they're worried about, aren't they?
Yeah. I had a bit of a bad experience today, actually. It wasn't very nice. Went into Aldi's and I'm not a rude person, so I just kept it to myself. But I just felt a bit uneasy because there was two young girls in there, and the body odour, it was not nice. It really was not nice. And everywhere I went, they happened to be down the same aisle, or we come across. And then I thought, what is that? It was just really strong. It actually made me feel like I wanted to vomit. And I'm not overreacting here or being a drama queen. Honestly, it was not nice. It was that strong. It was awful. And other people were looking around as well. And then I thought, don't look at me. Oh, God, it's definitely not me. No way.
Well, do you think that, well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You can get away with it. If there's a group of people, you can get away with that, can't you? Because, if it's just you and one other, then, or one or two others, then they know they can narrow it down. But I think if you're in a group, you can get away with it. What do you reckon? I reckon.
Yeah, but I just can't. But the issue here is that they must be aware. They've got to be aware. It was just not nice. Really wasn't. Right.
No,
even
it wasn't nice.
Commented as well. So
it wasn't nice. Well, where did you say this was?
Aldi's in
Right,
Dover.
so that's even worse. It's around food, isn't it? Produce. It's not good, is it? Well, you know what you have to do next time? Take a bottle of Lynx with you. Keep it in your bag.
Do you know, funny you should say that, because I thought in a minute I might best pop down a certain aisle and grab some like perfume spray or something, and then sort of, scutter past and give it a good squirt. Then again, that's not very nice, is it? That's really not very nice thing to do. So I wouldn't do it. I would think it. I would think about doing it, but I wouldn't do it.
Physically do it. Well, you're not that sort of guy. You're not that, Graham.
No, I just found the whole. I mean, in life, isn't there? We're met with situations we come across, and those sort of situations that are tiresome or frustrating. This is one of them. I'm never going to forget it. I mean, it shouldn't be a topic that is causing me so much distress. But
I agree.
When we're talking about social distancing, and the key thing that they say is keep yourself clean and washing of your hands. And there's that. I mean, the body odor was that strong. It was sickly. It really
Well then, guys, Graham, thanks for sharing that. I'm sure the viewers can.
Being very serious.
I think they can understand where you're coming from there, and I'm sure they've been in similar situations in the past before, and never thought they'd ever be talking about it or hearing it being discussed.
Exactly.
But what's more important right now is we have an announcement to make. Yeah, so anyway, that's our guest, guys, ladies and gentlemen. Our guest is now admitted into the stream, and we look forward to it. Introduce Andy, everybody.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Just
Good.
There we go. I'm on.
Well, hey.
Hey.
Good evening.
Good evening. Andy, just before we get started, I want to say sorry, my friend. We had
What a day.
We've had a lot of issues with the stream this evening.
I've seen. Yeah, it looked pretty nerve-wracking for you.
Nerve-wracking, dreadful. Well, all sorts of names under the sun. Absolutely. But thank you, honestly, for coming on. And we're really grateful to have you on board. And we want to hear about some of the stuff you do because you know, you're with an exploration team, are you? Or is it your exploration team, something you do?
It's my my YouTube channel, and I've got a couple of people that come exploring with me. Exploring Dave's the main one. He's like the mainstay that comes with me a lot. So it's good to, the main fundamental of going anywhere that is abandoned is you don't want to be on your own. Just safely.
Quite believe, yeah. I would like to easily go with someone. I mean, something like that is quite interesting. I like historic places and abandoned places. Yeah,
it's the history that I like, and the fact that it isn't always going to be there. So I like to document it. I used to just go in and take photos of everything, but then I got a more modern camera, and I could video on it. So then I started videoing it, and that's when it started progressing. Thinking, someone said to me, "Why don't you put that up on Facebook or YouTube?" And I already had a YouTube account, so I just set it up and started putting some of my explores up on there, and that's how it all came about, really.
How's it going for you with that, with the views? Are you getting any connections from people?
Yeah, it seems to be going well. People seem to be interested in it. So yeah, just I aren't doing it for the sort of likes and things like that. I was doing it anyway without any at all. So, but if people enjoy the format and they enjoy the videos, then it is nice to be successful. And if I do something that appears that that is successful and people enjoy it, then that's an absolute bonus.
We've got a viewer for you. We've got Keelan Ward.
Keelan Ward, hello.
He says, "Hey, Andy."
Yeah, hello. Yeah, I can't see the comments.
No, of course you can't. I suppose you can't, can you?
No. I wonder if I can get them up. I'll get them up on my iPod.
Yeah.
I can watch the show on the iPad with it muted, and then I can see the comments.
I have to say, guys, we have got four followers or 4 viewers, and that's really good. And like I say, we have to keep saying this, and I will keep saying it, and until you get bored of me saying it, but we are extremely sorry for the technical issues we had this evening. It was completely crazy, really, because like I say, everything that we'd done was correct. Everything was set up prior to starting, and it was just a case of pressing a couple of buttons. We did that, and all of a sudden I turned around and I looked at because we've got 3 monitors here, and I looked around at the third monitor and I thought, hang on a minute, we haven't moved for the past 5 minutes, and that's where kind of I then realised and identified we had a problem. So then we went to YouTube, then we've come off of YouTube and gone back to Facebook, and here we are. And as it stands, we are doing okay, gratefully and thankfully, because I'm really pleased we've been able to get Andy on the stream. And Andy, just before we go further, I want to say, where is that you are at now? You've got the, I presume it's a green screen, but that's a really good picture.
That is Flamborough Head. I was up there a few months ago with Exploring Dave. There's a couple of pillboxes up there and a couple of lighthouses that we explored. I just took that picture while I was there. I thought it'd be a nice backdrop for this evening on Zoom.
Yeah, it's very nice. I like it.
Thank you. Yeah, I took that with this camera. It's on a gimbal at the minute, so it's a bit big. That's me Canon 90D. I took it with that.
Wow.
Which is a lovely little camera. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's my favourite at the minute. Yeah, let's put that back. It's a bit cumbersome on the gimbal, but it gives it stable footage for video because the stabilisation on them is a bit... because they take such a huge picture when they're filming, it's hard to stabilise it. Because when you're filming in 4K, cropping 4K because the image is so big is quite difficult. And with a digital SLR, it has to compute that much. It's processing so much that it can't crop it and stabilise it that well. So the way around it, put it on a gimbal.
Yeah, that's good.
Which isn't out there yet. The videos that are going up at the minute are without the gimbal because I've only just got it. So that'll be the stable footage. It'll start coming out in 6 weeks, something like that.
Oh, well, you've got to be excited about that because it's as you say, you like to get a good result.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's more for the viewers. A lot of people out there. I mean, I used to be on ships quite a lot. I didn't get seasick, but if I'm watching a computer game such as like Call of Duty, something like that, if I'm watching someone else play it and it's all bouncing, or Challenge Annika when that used to be on TV.
Oh gosh, that's years ago.
I know I'm showing my age. Yeah, the sort of bouncing along as a camera's shaking. That used to make me so travel sick. And I don't want that on my channel, really. I want to sort of eliminate that. I want nice, smooth footage. So, yeah, that's where the gimbals come in. So I've been testing that out recently. And,
when you say gimbals, what is that exactly, Andy?
A gimbal is a stabilizer, which is this. I'll just turn it on. Now with a backdrop, you aren't going to be able to see it very well.
Oh yeah.
So I might turn the backdrop off, but yeah, you fire this up, and it's just a gyro controlled. Like, monitor for it. I just turn my. See if I hold it in front of me. See there, I'm like moving the base of it around, then it's just staying in one position. I might try turning the backdrop off so you can see it a bit better. Which I'm used to Teams. I'm not used to Zoom, and it's totally different. So
you can tell we're not used to it, folks, eh?
Yeah, well,
yeah, I don't know how to do it. I'll drop it out. But yeah,
it's fine.
It's a stable platform. If I put my face behind it, it shows it up. But yeah, it's just
cool.
like a tripod, but it's all gyro controlled and holds the camera steady. So yeah, it's a lovely bit of kit that I've
anti-shudder. Wow.
Anti-shudder. Yeah, just holds it all stable. Yeah, it's a DJI.
And that's amazing. And Andy, that's so useful because I mean, when you're out and about exploring, you know, you've got that piece of kit. That's going to be so beneficial when you're doing tight views, right? And
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can pan it around. Yeah, it'll sit on an axis and just turn rather than you sort of turning yourself. And it because it's on a handle, it makes it easier to carry as well. And it's got a bit of weight to it, but it's not that bad. It's a couple of kilos, then the camera.
Yeah, good stuff.
So, yeah,
it's really impressive.
Thank you.
It's best to have a good bit of kit, isn't it? And you definitely got that there. Have you got any adventures planned soon? Have you got any areas that you're planning to go?
Yeah, there's plenty on the bucket list. It's just when Boris says we're not grounded anymore, I'll be getting out there again. Yeah. So yeah,
it's like Boris... a 3 o'clock in the morning trip out, is it?
Yeah, that's
so early.
Yeah, well, yeah, if we can social distance, then I don't see what the problem is. Yeah, so especially where I am behind me there, like Bempton Cliffs and Flamborough, there's no one there. If, like you say, if you go early enough, there'll be no one there.
No.
So really, it's not going to spread the dreaded virus that we can't mention.
Good stuff. Yeah. We have a bit of an engagement from one of our viewers. Robin says, what equipment do you take? What equipment do you take when exploring, i.e. backpack, notes, notepads, etc.? Is there anything in particular you take? Yeah,
well, we've usually got like a set list of where we're going, so we know what we're going to visit. So I'll have a little script on each one, just some historic background on it. such as where we were there, Flamborough. There's 2 lighthouses in Flamborough. So I had the script on the first one, which is a chalk tower, which never actually got used. Incidentally, they built a lighthouse, but technology superseded it before they completed it. So they built a better one further towards the coast. So the first one they built, they didn't use. Then the second one they did use, and it's still in use today. But yeah, that's for an example. So I'd have a set list and a script for each area. Then, most importantly, is water, because the last thing you want to do is get dehydrated, because you're talking a lot, narrating, keeps your mind alert as well, having water with you. You want snacks as well, because no one likes doing anything when they're hungry. And it shows, if you're fed up, it shows on camera. Straight away, if you're fed up and angry and stuff, or hangry as people call it, you can see it, and you don't act the same. You don't project yourself as positively as you maybe could do. And so food and water, obviously the camera. So you want your camera batteries charged up. You want the gimbal charged up. You need lights as well, so have the light batteries charged up. I'll always have a backup as well. So if the main camera fails, have a GoPro with a light on it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, backup. And then transport. I've got a little pickup truck that I use just to get here and there. Go pick Dave up, exploring Dave, and then we get out on the road. We've got a backpack just off Amazon, just a camera backpack. It's only £40, something like that, just to keep the equipment together in. Because we're always on the move, we don't tend to use a tripod. I've got a tripod down there, but tend not to take that out with us. That's more for static shots and things like that. But when we're out exploring, we don't do anything static. We're always moving, exploring, so we don't use that. So yeah, Wellington boots I've found probably the most useful footwear. So I've had them recently on a video that's going live on, or going out on Thursday. I was in a bunker that was flooded, and it was about 20 millimetres lower than the top of my Wellington boots. So I was sort of walking like a penguin, so I didn't flood, because it was like silt at the bottom. And if I lifted my foot up, it was like moving the water over into my other Wellington boot. So that was flooding. So I was just sort of shuffling along. So yeah, Wellington boots, they're the best. They're the best bit of kit I've got, probably.
So
yeah.
I will say, Andy, I'm really grateful for obviously knowing Ian Stead, because Ian Stead and we go back a bit. And if it wasn't for Ian Stead, we wouldn't be talking today, I think it's fair to say. He and you do very similar things when it comes to exploring, and he is also, like you, got a channel. So I'm really pleased to hear that there are people like Ian out there, and yourself, of course, doing this sort of stuff. And there's nothing better than history, you know what I mean? And as much as we get told these things in schools, and we do, now we can do that our own research. It's not, I don't think, readily available. And particularly, I think there's nothing better than current history. Do you know something that's really interested me, and you've probably covered this, Andy, is the Grey Lady of Oxney Bottom through Doverdale Road. You probably know the area, do you, through Dover?
I've been to Dover a couple of times. I don't know it that well. I live up north, so yeah. I've got some friends that live down in
Leeds accent, right?
Yeah, Hull. Yeah, near Hull. Yeah.
Yeah, Hull.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Come on, you guys.
Yeah. Well, they're both in the Championship, but at different ends of the spectrum currently.
They are.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm not really a City fan anyway. Hull City, that is. But yeah, I've got a lot of family and friends in Kent, including some work colleagues. So yeah, I'll end up down there at some point. I'd love to get around Manston Airport, and yeah, obviously Dover itself's got a lot of history, land and Hull and places like that. But they've all been documented by Ian and his crew, and very well as well. I've never put myself in the same category as Ian. He's been doing it for years and is a lot more experienced. He's very, very good at what he does. Is an inspiration to me. I don't think I've got it here, but yeah, I have. I've even got one of his
Fall over that
hats.
cliff, Andy.
Pardon? Yeah, I won't fall off the cliff now. I'm on a wheelie chair as well. I've got to be careful. But yeah, Chris's colleague, he sent me a hat. I don't know if it'll come up because
Oh,
of
wow, that's nice.
Yeah, he sent me a hat because I'm connected with him on Facebook and through different things, because he likes his transits and that, and so do I. But yeah, he sent me a hat a while back, and that's how I sort of got to know about Ian Stead and his channel, and and it all went from there. Really, that was a year or so ago. They've been up here. They've done like Spurn Point, and I think one of the first videos of theirs that I watched was Drewton's Tunnel, which is on the old Hull and Barnsley railway line. It's one of the longest. It's probably the longest railway tunnel in Yorkshire. Yeah. One of the longest ones in the country. And Ian and Chris and a kid called Adi went in this tunnel. And years ago, I was in that tunnel with my dad, and I lost one of my Wellington boot again. I lost my Wellington boots in this tunnel, and I went back with just my socks on. And when Ian and Chris were down there, they found my Wellington boots.
Wow.
Still in the mud. Yeah. So yeah, everything always comes back in a link. And I think it was Chris and Eddie found my boots down there. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I watched that video and I was like, they're mine, them.
I'll do a quick shout out, guys. I just want to do a very quick shout out. Sorry to interrupt you there, Andy. Is Tim Lennard White. He is joining this stream. Well, at least he's watching and he's liked the page. So I'm really grateful. We're all grateful for that. Thank you. And also, we have a comment for you, Andy, if you don't mind me saying. And it's from a James Rayner. Do you know James Rayner? Yeah?
I do. He's a Leeds fan.
Good on him. Good lad.
Yeah, Leeds United fan. Yeah.
Not many of us. No, there's a few of us. Well, he said, are you planning to explore abroad in the near future?
It's logistically, it's difficult. I mean, I'd love to go abroad, but with a young family, it's difficult to do that. I'd love to visit the Maginot Line in France and Belgium. Obviously, Battery Todd as well. Just because of the history, the World War II history is what really is the grabber for me. It draws me in because of the military history. Because I'm ex-military myself. The downside of that is obviously like Battery Todd was built by slave labour, so there's a lot of sadness to remember as well. A lot of people died building something, an artifact of war. But it isn't. I just want to video it and photograph it before it's gone, because one day it'll just be, because of the position of it on the seafront, it'll be a block of flats. So I'll just get rid of it.
I think you're right, and that's exactly what happens to these places, isn't it? It's either going to be flat or built into something. But no, I agree. And if it wasn't for people like yourself, Andy, people wouldn't understand the history to this modern day. They wouldn't understand what's left to see. And so it does need documenting, and credit to yourself, and also credit to the likes of Ian as well that does these things.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Oh, Ian, it needs saying.
Ian's channel, IKS Exploration, is far superior to mine, and it always will be, because he's been doing it for so long. And I watch his channel for enjoyment. Yeah, because I enjoy the stuff he does. Even your old chat show, the Stead Closure show. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah. That was.
Yeah, that really was cool. I was talking to Ian about that the other day, actually, about him possibly releasing the episodes. Because the best ofs are on the channel on YouTube, but the actual episodes are all private. Mm-hmm. I was asking him about if they were going to be made.
Well, Andy, I'm glad you mentioned that, because there was something. Yeah. The reason why that happened. Well, there was a reason for that. Well, basically, we felt at the time that the best of seasons 1 and 2 was what we considered the best of, and we thought, well, that works. We can sort of allow that out, Now, bearing in mind, all of the episodes we done were completely, I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong, they were fun. We really enjoyed doing it, but I think at that time, I was just coming into politics, Graham, wasn't I, Graham? And
yes,
I felt as if like I didn't want to make a rod for my own back. I mean, I was quite easy enough to make mistakes for myself. Do you know what I mean? And if I was going to make a mistake, I would make a mistake. About your personality, persona, and so on and so forth, and how you're seen by others. But I didn't want something like that knocking us before I got started. Now, I think it was just in my head. And I said to Ian, and we discussed it, and he said, well, yeah, maybe some of the stuff's a little bit on the edge. And so we took the best of seasons 1 and 2. And the other stuff still exists. The other stuff is still there to see. But we never really released it, live. And part of me wants to, because there's some really good stuff. I mean, like now, for example, I don't know why we didn't actually release it back then, even prior to me getting involved with politics. I think we should just let it go, because I think it was just at the time we thought maybe some of it was a little bit below the belt. But I don't know. Yeah, I enjoyed it. He enjoyed it. We did say about maybe doing it again, but I know he's very busy with his IKS exploration, so we've sort of put it on hold, really. But yeah, maybe we should. Maybe we should actually put it to him and say, get it released. Why not? I mean, what's the worst that can happen, guys? What's the worst that can happen?
Well, it's the 4th one, and it's like Toy Story 4. That was good. So the State Pleasure. So Series 4, that'd be excellent as well. He obviously can't speak for Ian, but yeah, he was saying about maybe releasing it on Patreon for his Patreon viewers, because it's like a separate sub channel that's just for limited resource, and it's not public, so it could possibly go that way. Get some feedback on that. But the world was a different place back then. Censorship's a lot tighter now.
Yes, see, this is the thing. I mean, what is generally acceptable to most of us and the viewers, I don't know, certain audiences might not appreciate, you know what I mean? And this is the thing, we all say this, but when we do something live, whatever we do now, it might not completely represent our ultimate view, you know what I mean? So as a disclaimer, as it said, these may not represent our views entirely. So, and the same applied to me and Ian. We were doing all these funny things, or at least we thought they were. And then at the end, we thought, well, that was a bit, at the end when we discussed it, but we just went with it because it was funny at the time, but at least we thought it was. But then we took a view that, well, actually, would others feel the same way about it as us? And in some cases, probably not. And I think at the time when I was doing politics, or just coming into politics, I thought there's going to be people wanting me blood anyway. So do I want to give them something on a plate? You know what I mean? So that's why it never got released. However, I think back at it now, it weren't all that bad. And if it was, I don't even think Ian would have done it. That's the truth, because Ian's a very respectable person. So I think I was just overly, I was new to camera back then anyway, I think it's fair to say. So I was overly cautious. So I think it needs to go out. And you're absolutely right, Andy. You've got a plan there. I think, but maybe he does it, whether he does it Patreon, I don't know. Maybe he should, or just put it out there for free. I mean, I don't know. I think he should release it. I think I'll push it on that. I'll push him on that. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, but cool to get it out there. But I don't know what's on those B-sides, so that's between you and Ian.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, it's not that bad. I mean, it's. I'll have a chat with him and we'll see about getting it out there. I think that's important. I mean, why not? What's the worst that can happen, as they say. So thanks everybody for coming on. We have a few viewers here. We've still got 5 viewers, which is great fun. I mean, actually, considering all the problems we've had, you would have thought we'd have had no viewers. So I'm really grateful that people are genuine and stuck around. I mean, that's important, Grem, isn't it? And
it is.
And Andy, it's really been good. You coming on board and really appreciate the stuff you're doing.
Yeah, I'm just having a look at the comments now. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say, Andy, if you want, I mean, certainly if you want to put your links up to your pages and stuff like that, please do on the group page. We'd like to see it, and I'm sure others would like to sort of see your stuff if you don't mind. Any YouTube channels you've got.
Yeah, I'll put. I was going to share this out. I was just going to put this on.
Good stuff.
I'll just put that up now. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Trying to multitask.
Well, as you can tell, I can't do such a thing.
You're not that bad, Ben.
Well, it does happen.
The technology that is messed up this evening.
It does happen. But I think before, while Andy's looking at that, I think what we're going to talk about, Graham, is about the studio that we're looking at, because we've got a studio in the plan, haven't we? Just for the information on that, a bit of information for the viewers, we're actually getting closer to the idea of being able to set one up. And I was doing some measurements today, Graham, and things are looking quite good. So everything we plan on doing should come together. And I'm hoping, now this is our plan, Grem, isn't it? We're hoping by, say, I don't know, October maybe. I mean, it's a bit way off, so we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, and we'll still continue on with these shows.
Yeah, we're not going to rush into it. We're going to take our time, because I need it personally to look, at least semi-professional.
I think what it is, Graham, I think what it is that we're not going to be in lockdown forever, thankfully. And I think when that time comes that it's released, Andy will be out doing his exploring. We'll be hopefully getting together a bit more, Graham, and we'll be actually doing stuff in the studio. So it'll be a bit more controlled and a bit more organised, I hope. So we'll use what we've got and use resources that's available to us at the moment. But as I say, things will only get better. Or at least I believe they will. And I'm sure Graham feels the same. And Andy, we'd like to, again, get you on as many times as we can, if of course, you're available. I mean, you're a busy man yourself.
Yeah, that'd be absolutely fantastic.
That'd be great. I mean, obviously, even if it's a case that, you want to talk about, some of the explorations you're doing or are planning to do, that's absolutely fine. And this is the whole point in this debate, if you call it that. It's not even a debate, is it? Or a show. It's about everybody coming together, talking about anything they want, however which way they want, whether it's news, politics, or going out and exploring. But I really want to do, Graham, you said earlier about wanting to do some exploring. Now, I'll tell you something I really wanted to do, and I still do, the Grey Lady, the Oxney Bottom. Because actually, I was watching this on YouTube a little bit about it the other day, about how it used to be a city or a town, of itself, back in the 1600s. It might even have gone back further than that. I might be wrong. And obviously, it's all forestry now. It's all forest growth. But it used to be a very active place, and now it stands quiet in the silence of day. So I kind of want to explore that, and Graham, maybe we could all come to a collaboration. Maybe we could actually do a scene on that. Maybe we could meet up and do down there, or maybe
I don't know. I quite like the sound of that, actually. Funny thing, I was thinking that, maybe come October, when our studio is hopefully set up. Wouldn't it be great to do a road trip, and up to you, Andrew?
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Yeah,
and maybe we'll do. That'd be good. I really look forward to that.
Maybe get Ian in as well. The four of us or something. All the teams, because it's not just four of us, is it? Because you've got Chris as well. Is it Chris?
Chris Stacey.
Yes, Chris Stacey. Yes, I do know Chris Stacey. Yeah, so Chris Stacey as well, the team. We'd get us all together and we could do something like that. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'd like to think we can get a bit of footage. Maybe we can throw some bits up on the stream here and talk about it and have a separate subject in itself. You know what I mean? I think that'd be really interesting. But there's loads of places. I mean, like, I remember me and Ian Stead, we did something up at the castle where we were doing a ghost story up there. It was quite funny, and actually, he got me quite scared, I must admit, because we were, we set everything up. And he was like, "Oh, did you hear that? Did you hear that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I did." And the funny thing was, I was hearing what he was suggesting he heard, and it was a bit odd, and it was unexplainable, because we were over by the keeps, over by the walls and so on. So yeah, and it was quite late at night. It must have been about midnight, if not, it was 1-2 in the morning. We stayed out there a good few hours, and it was quite eerie. Do you know what I mean? So I love all that stuff. It's really interesting stuff. And I remember Strange But True. Do you remember Strange But True?
I do. Yeah. It's I do remember that show.
Is it still going? Is it? Or
I don't watch TV anymore, if I'm honest. It's bit of a conversation stopper, but I don't.
No.
I watch YouTube. I watch YouTube. I watch IKS. I watch the Ben&Grem Show. I will now watch the Ben&Grem Show. And I'm not saying that because I'm on here. I do. That's what I do now. I don't watch TV. It's all hysteria, really. Don't want to put my sort of political views out there, but yeah, I'll watch what Boris says, because he's the democratically elected leader. I didn't even vote in the last general election because I didn't know who to vote for. But yeah, Boris is the man now, so I'll listen to what he's got to say because he is the PM. I'll listen to the Queen because I used to work for her. And yeah, I'll listen to Tim Lennard White as well because he's my dad.
Good man.
And that's it. So yeah, thanks for joining, Dad. Jamie and Keelan as well are out there, and Dan Hornsby that's watching. So yeah, Dan's building a bar at the minute. So
nice.
when Boris says we're allowed to go out and play again, Dan, I'll be coming to yours.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the bar that Ian Stead created? He had a bar. Did you see that in his makeshift studio? Do you remember that? Do you remember seeing that at all? Oh, it's part of the show, isn't it?
Yeah, on the Psychology Show. Yeah, it looks really good.
I can't believe he sold it. He sold it. I can't believe it.
Oh, yeah, I know. He got rid of it. It's sad.
That is sad, yeah, because that's history itself.
Yeah, I know.
But then you can
he did say, though, didn't he, that he was getting in his way?
Well, it was a bit big. I must admit, it was good while he had it. I suppose if you want to renovate your room or somewhat, you need to get rid of it. It was clunky. It was big, and it was in the way, and you made use of it whilst it was there, and you worked around it. But I suppose when you change things, you want to get rid, don't you? It's a sad story, really. I think when I spoke to him about it recently, I think he was quite sad about it, about letting it go. But anyway, these things happen, don't they? Eh? Nothing's forever, as they say.
Well, yeah, I've got a motorbike downstairs in the garage, and a couple of years ago, I was going to sell that, and my wife, who doesn't like motorbikes at all, talked me out of it. She said, "Don't, because you will always regret getting rid of that." So I've had it that long. It wasn't new when I got it. It was about a year old. But I've had it 2001. I've had that since, and it's my bike. It's part of who I am. So if I'd sold that, because it's only worth a couple of grand, that would have just got frittered away. That £2,000, once that's gone, I'll never have that bike again, And so I've still got it. Doesn't get out much because I've got a child instead.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But that's the thing. It's your pride and joy, isn't it?
Yeah.
See, funny you say that. I've got something similar. I've got a car, a second car, but I don't. It's not. It's out the way. It's Sawn actually at the moment because I just it was coming up for an MOT and I didn't have the money at the time to deal with it. But I planned to at some stage. It's an MR2. Do you remember the MR2s?
Yeah, is it the old chip rear-engined ones?
It's rear engine, rear wheel drive, but it's the 2002 version. So it's the MR2. Yeah, absolutely love it. Convertible, and it's my pride and joy. But it's in my garage, and it's just been sitting there for the best part of 2 years now, and I'm really sad about that. But I can't get rid of it because I know that there'll be a day. Yeah, I can't part with it.
It is a nice motor, though. It's a nice motor, and it's very nippy, very fast.
Yeah, there's benefits to this because the MR2s have got a bit of a cult following, and you'll always be able to get Japanese import parts for it. So you'll always be able to maintain it. And I think at some point, manufacturers will stop making cars like that, little sport cars. Really, at the minute, there's only really the MX-5 that's still in production.
Yeah.
Everything else has stopped unless you start going into 4 Series BMWs, and then you're looking at £40,000 to get something like that. So yeah, keep your MR2 definitely.
That's what worries me, and I think that's becoming evident. You're absolutely right, Andy, because cars are very expensive nowadays. Everyone will know, unless it's a company car that you've been given. It's very hard to get these cars nowadays. I mean, but yeah, something like that becomes classic, doesn't it? So you want to keep it.
It is a classic car, yeah.
Yeah,
only 18 years old. It is a classic car, and it won't. Yeah, it's the estate where I live. It's all Nissan Dukes. I've got a Navara myself, and there's not many sort of proper cars out there anymore. I mean, my dad had loads of decent cars. He had Capris and Opel Mantas, and nice cars looking back. And I've got diesels. Wheel drive diesels, and they're just boring. It's not the same. That fun, that mid-engine rear wheel drive fun is something that's going to be a thing of the past.
They've got to have a character, haven't they?
Yes.
I mean, the cars now, they haven't got. But they do have character, but not like the MR2, for example. You look at that and you think, oh, you can imagine like what you could do with the car and go like road trips and stuff.
My father, Tim Lennard White on here, he'll remember this. We was in, I think it was the Opel Manta, and there's some sort of dual carriageway roundabouts. You've got them down there off the M2 and things like that. The ones that go above the M2 and the roundabout above.
Yeah.
it'd been raining. I was only a kid. I was about 8, sat in the back of this Opel Manta, no seatbelts because the rear of cars didn't have them back then for the younger viewers. He went onto this roundabout, and they were rear-wheel drive, and he spun it. He did like a 180 and into like one of the entrances that wasn't used. And my mum was in the front going, what are you doing? What are you doing? And me and my brother were just in the back, just laughing, thinking that was really cool, you know. But yeah, just a bit of diesel. But you're not going to get that in something like a Golf.
No.
You know, it's traction control all cut in, and you know, it's a lot safer, but it's not as fun.
Absolutely. I mean, actually, there's nothing better than holding an oversteer or something like that, is there? I mean, I have to say, I came home from work one day now bearing in mind I work in Folkestone, so I was coming back from Folkestone to Dover, and I was driving through Folkestone, and there was a set traffic lights I came to. It was just coming out of Cheriton, actually, for anybody who knows. And as I was indicating to go left, it's quite a sharp left, and I never really thought about it. I was just, I don't know, I was listening to radio, and I was just, you know, minding my own business. Next thing, as I've gone round the corner, the back end's gone right the way round, and I didn't think I put that much power to the floor. But basically, the back end spun right the way round, and as I realised I was going round, I sort of had to fight against the wheel, and I brought it back, and it sort of fishtailed and brought straight back. But I was only doing I was probably no more than about 10 mile an hour or so, but it was enough to let it go. And it was like being on ice. It was fantastic fun, but it made my heart go a little bit. You know, and that's the same, because the MR2, similarly, they don't have traction control. They have power assisted steering, but that's about as far as it goes when it comes to any sort of stability. But yeah, I just love it. I miss the car, and I really do hope to get it back out again. It's a little 2-seater, but they are the best, you know, like Capris and MR2s and, you know, all these sort of cars of the past. I mean, no one will ever get bored of them. And it's sad to say, really, how they are starting to fall out of production. You remember the Toyota Celica's? I mean, I've always wanted one of those, actually. Yeah.
What was it called? It's they did a sporty one that was supercharged. The Toyota's is it a GT4 or something like that?
Yes.
The Celica GT4. They were really nice. My friend or neighbour Austin Hudson had one. They were a nice bit of kit then,
weren't they? Jeff?
Nothing is in production like that now. You can have a Qashqai or a Nissan Leaf, or you know, your diesel stuff. I mean, I've had Golfs for years. The wife's got a Mark 7 Golf at the minute, and it is absolutely fantastic in every way. It does everything perfectly, but it's boring, really. You know, they don't have that fun characteristics about them that your MR2s, your Capris, and your stuff from back then had. You know.
Well, yeah. I mean, in truth, I mean, the MR2. I mean, it was actually not my first choice. I mean, initially, my favourite car of all time was the Lotus Elise, and absolutely love it. And it was the closest thing to a Lotus Elise that I could afford, and I got it. I picked it up from North London, of all places. Not that matters to anyone, but brought it back, and it was in a state. I must admit, it had a hole in the exhaust. It had catalytic converter had gone on it. It sounded as rough as you could imagine. I brought it home, realised what I needed to do with it, and got the work done. And it's running as smooth as you like, which I'm now really, really pleased about. I mean, it could go for an MOT, but I don't. I just feel like there's so much connection with it. You know what I mean? Everyone feels connection with a car. I get it, but a certain car. You know, cars are, when you've got that connection with a car, you just don't want to let it go for whatever. I don't. If anyone could throw any money at me right now for it, I wouldn't let it go. I love it too much. That's the truth of it. You know, even though I could probably do with the money, I wouldn't take the money. I would say, no, I'm not getting rid of it. You know, I had thought about it, but I couldn't. And and so there's some truth in that. You know, these classic cars, they have a real value to them. And I think it's fair to say, like, do you remember the Minis? Do you remember the old Minis and the new Minis? Well, it's so much the old Coopers, wasn't it?
Yeah, I like the old-shaped Mini. The old-shaped Mini's quite... you can't beat it, can you?
No.
Yeah, the proper Minis, as people call them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, again, my father, he had loads of Minis. He had a 1275 GT. That was nice. I didn't like it as a kid, though, because it was really noisy.
Yeah.
I remember because he had Weber carbs on it, twin-turbo carbs. Not one carburettor, but a twin choke on it. And when he put his foot down, you could hear it sucking the air in. Induction noise. Yeah. Good times. Yeah, you don't get that on a Golf.
I'll tell you a funny story then on the subject of induction. I had one of my first cars was a Renault Clio RN, Remember those?
Yeah.
1.2.
Yeah,
It was grey, and I absolutely loved it. I really did. It was one of those other cars that it's not quite the MR2 of today for me, but it was a nice first car. Anyway, what I decided to do one day was I went to Canterbury. It used to be a place. I don't know if it's still open, but it used to be a place over there where you could get car parts. Like sports equipment parts. And high performance parts. It'll come to me in a minute what it was called. You might remember it, but so I've gone in there and I've ordered and took away and put on outside on their forecourt. Funny enough, in the middle of the day, a air filter or cone filter. Do you remember the cone filters?
Yeah, the K&N.
There wasn't that. Yes, it K&N. That's the one. And I didn't have an induction with it. It was just a filter. And me and this friend of mine, Stuart, at the time, we put it together, and we drove back from Canterbury to Dover, where I lived, and it sounded brilliant. I mean, it was like was brilliant. It was all noise, no action. Actually, it's a 1.2. It hadn't been sported up anyway. It was good for what it was, and I kept that for some years, and then I sold it on to a friend of mine, Anthony. He passed his test, young lad, first car, and I think he equally fell in love with it. It was noisy; you could hear it coming a mile off, but it was whilst it was coming, it was also coming rather slowly. And I remember people laughing and joking about it, but I loved it. Wasn't quite your super Impreza, but it did me some good. I loved it. The harder you put your foot down on the accelerator, the louder it became.
Yeah, it just made a bit more noise.
Yeah,
that in itself can be more fun. My friend, he's a car mechanic, and he's had loads of nice cars over the years. He gets them in and he buys them for trade price. But he had a sooty van. Can you remember them little Suzuki Rascal vans?
Yes.
And that is probably the most fun I've ever had in any vehicle, because the suspension was totally worn out. So when you went over a speed bump, the engine was sort of beside you, and you were sat over the front wheels. So when you went over a speed bump, you sort of lifted up and went down. It was like being on a rowing boat. And then the front of the van finished just in front of your face. Would have been no good in a crash because your nose was the impact zone. So, but it just at your kneecaps was the front of the van, so you could drive right up to things. It was really good fun. But he's had all sorts of sports cars, and he's got an Aston Martin at the minute, and he let me have a go in that, and I didn't enjoy it because I couldn't afford to fix it if I broke it. Right. Whereas a little Rascal van was worth about 50p, so that wasn't a problem. But it was more fun for that, the sort of basic stripped back enjoyment of something, rather than something that's very shiny and very expensive.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I used to know a chap who used to have a Nissan Skyline, and that thing was actually, tell you the truth, he had a Nissan Skyline, but he had an MR. No, what did he have? He had a Renault 5 prior to that, and he must have spent something in the region of about £18,000 on it. And he lived around the corner from us. This used to lift up the front when you went across the road. It literally, you put your foot down and the front would lift up. It was almost taking off. Anyway, he got rid of that, but he got his Nissan Skyline, and that was a different experience altogether. It threw you back in your seat. But yeah, cars, they're fantastic things, aren't they? They really are. Expensive.
Sorry, I didn't want to make this into a motoring show. It's
no, I don't.
It's a bit of a hobby of mine,
Fine. I'm actually remembering the cars that my dad had. One was a Cortina. You remember the Cortinas? Yeah.
Yeah. My father had one. That was a nice car.
Yeah, it was, and they were all leather seats back then as well, weren't they? In the old cars, and he had 3 laders or laders. Is it pronounced lader or larder?
They used to have a lot of ladders in. I pronounce it larder.
Yeah,
they used all the taxis, Hull City taxis, all used to be ladders in the 90s.
Wow.
For whatever reason.
Sorry, Andrew. I can remember at the front of the radiator grille, you'd stick like this barring, and to start it up, if it wouldn't start up normally with the key, you would just do this and wind and give it some power.
Cranking handle.
Hit it with a sledgehammer.
It's just hilarious. It's just hilarious. Yeah, green. Car was green. The one I can remember was green, and there was like a red one, but he also had another one, but I may have been not born then or too young to remember.
My father had a...
What about yourself, Andrew? Your parents, cars?
The first cars. I used to hate cars as a child. Sort of the first memories of cars were Morris Marinas. Going to the coast in Morris Marinas, and it used to have this like brown felt seats, and it used to smell like an old damp dog. I mean, my parents had no money. It isn't a dig at them, but I remember this Morris Marina, and if we went out, it'd break down. And me and my brother and my mum would end up pushing it. And I used to hear my mum and dad talking about going to the seaside. And I used to think, I don't want to go. I love the seaside. I love waffles. I love ice creams, donkey ride. But I'll end up pushing a Morris Marina. I don't want to go. There's a 5-year-old, her car's massive. I was like pushing the boot and it was up here, and I cut my hand once. And I remember it was a Marina because the M of the Marina was cut into my hand, that old chrome badge. My first memories of cars weren't good. And then my father one day came home in this big green thing. And I found out it was a Mark III Ford Cortina estate. And that was the first car I ever had, or I was ever in. It didn't break, it just worked. It was a bit rusty.
It's solid. My dad had the Cortina for years.
Yeah, we went to Wales on holiday in it, and I wish I could go back there now because it was North Wales. We went and stayed in a log cabin, and it was on a lake. And one of the viewers might know what it was called. Please comment if you do. There was a nuclear power station across the other side of the lake, and there was signs everywhere on the lake going all the way around. And this is somewhere I'd like to explore, going back to exploration. The other side of this lake, there was a nuclear power station. There was signs all the way around saying, do not bathe in the lake. Do not drink from the lake. Do not let your pets go in the lake. There was signs all the way around about every 2 or 3 metres. And I remember the wood ants were maybe 10 millimetres long, and the body width was about 4 millimetres. They were big. And I used to think to myself, like back then, not so keen on this nuclear-powered lake, I'm not so keen on that. Well, that's my first memory of the Ford Cortina. Got all the way down there. But security wasn't the best because I had some toy plastic keys. And I said to my dad, I had my keys, and he didn't have his. He was back inside, and it was pre-central locking and that. And he wanted something out of the boat, and he says, "Oh, I ain't got my keys." I was like, "Oh, it's all right, Dad. I've got mine. I've got my plastic parrot keys." And he goes, "Well, they won't work. Can I just put this plastic key in the back of the Cortina?" And it unlocked it. It worked. The security was that poor on Fords back then. You could open them with a teaspoon. And my plastic key opened it. So yeah, but whatever that lake's called, whatever that nuclear power station was called, I would like to revisit that, but I can't remember what it was. Maybe my father can. Tim Lennard White. I don't know if you're still on. Can you remember what it was called? I can't see the comments. But yeah, that would be a place to explore because it was. There
you go. Dad. Pop a comment in the comment box, and I was out with that one.
Yeah.
Robin has said in the comments, actually. Now I'm going to say this, but I think this is Welsh. I think it's very much Welsh, and I'm not very good with Welsh, so I'm gonna have a go. All right, and you have to correct me if I'm wrong. So I'm going to say it's Lynn Trosfund. Oh no, see how they even say it. Lynn Trosfund.
Okay.
Right.
I'll Google that afterwards. I'll Google Maps it and see if that is the place.
Yeah.
It could very well be, because I can't imagine there's that many nuclear power stations in North Wales.
It could be. I
But
think
it was a nice place. It was a lovely holiday, and the Ford Cortina Mark III got us there and all the way back. And I remember thinking on the A38, because it was pre M5, pre-motorway, I remember thinking, it's a long way to push this car home. I mean, I used to push the Morris Marinas, back from the seaside, which is not far from here. I thought, I ain't going to be able to push this. And it just didn't break. I was super impressed. And I remember the Ford badge. I mean, I'm not even a Ford fan, but I remember the Ford badge thinking, yeah, I'm not so keen on this car. It's very green and a bit rusty, but you know what? It's all right. And I never, ever had to push it. It was fantastic. And then my dad sold it.
Wow.
Got rid of it. It probably rusted to bits because it was quite rusty. It was sort of green and brown. The brown sort of overtook the green because it sort of ebbed up the doors, But it was a weight-saving measure because it kept leaving bits of it behind, but lighter and lighter.
Yeah, I had another car. I mean, I went through some cars in my youth, my younger days when I first passed my test. I don't know, I just seemed to pick up bad cars, and not bad cars because they were bad, but I was just unlucky with those particular cars. You know what I mean? Mm. And there was this one car I had, which was it was an E-Reg. It was a Vauxhall. No, was it Vauxhall? Yeah, I think it was a Volkswagen Polo. It was a state. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And the funny thing was, I look back at it now and I can only laugh. But back then, it was serious. And I remember I went to this guy's house. I won't mention any names. And I knocked on this guy's door. And I went in. I knew the guy, actually. And so I hope he's not watching. But if he is, please.
That's embarrassing, doesn't it?
It is embarrassing. Sometimes, you just go into these things. But so anyway, I've gone in and he went with the car with me. We got in the car and we drove around the block. And he said to me, yeah, don't worry about this noise. He goes, I went, yeah, what is that? It's very loud. He said, yeah, don't worry about it. What I do, he says, is he just turns the stereo up. Just turn the stereo up a little bit. You can't hear it. All right. Yeah, don't worry about that. Anyway, so we're going around the block and then came back and then I bought it, right? Now, bearing in mind, I was new. I hadn't been driving very long. And the first thing I done was went out to my granddad's, I think it was. It was my granddad's. He was a mechanic. So he, which really, maybe I should have took him with me. He would have said, don't go anywhere near it. But anyway, so I've gone out to my grandfather's and he said, that's a wheel hub bearing. That's gone. You need to get that sorted immediately. That's horrendous. And it was very loud. I mean, even with the radio one, you could hear it. I mean, but this bloke said, oh, no, you'll be all right. You'll be all right. And so anyway, I got it fixed and it was fine after that. But for about a week, I was using it for work, which is quite dangerous. I mean, when you're young, you do these things, don't you? Cars falling apart, you could go down the road with it, you wouldn't care less. I mean, I've had some cars. I mean, there's one situation, talking of another car very quickly, I was driving down through Dover and it broke down. Phoned a friend of mine up and he's come along with his car. He's got a tow rope and he's connected it to my car and he's pulling me with this rope, right? It's not a proper tow eye, not like a proper metal bar. It's actually a rope. And there's me applying the brakes, bearing in mind the brakes there's so much air in the brakes anyway. And it was like, almost hitting him. Anyway, it snapped, right? He went to pull away and this thing snapped right on a junction. He's just carried on going. He must have had enough of it. I remember phoning him later and saying, oh, why did you go? He said, I've had enough. I'm getting involved. And I had to push it with my mate who was in the car with me, Alan. We had to push it to the side of the road and eventually we got it fixed. But it was just, back then you think, how did you get away with this stuff? Where were the police back then? I mean, there was always police around. But, you think back and you think how lucky you were that you got away with these things. I mean, but you know what I mean? You wouldn't do it now. You just wouldn't do it. When you're older, you sort of get a bit wiser, I think, don't you? You don't take so many risks. But yeah, I remember that rope. And it was a thick rope. And I thought, yeah, that'd be all right. Well, clearly not. And it was actually that car I was talking about, the Renault Clio. So it was a small car, but like I say, obviously it's heavy enough and strong enough to snap a rope. So there you go. So don't do that. Don't tow a car with a rope, guys, just to be on the safe side. Yeah, that's the end of that one. Everyone's gone to sleep. Look, the whole stream has just gone to sleep.
Oh no!
Yeah, I have to say, cars are an interesting thing. You have some good ones and bad ones, and they either work or they don't. You can't have it all, can you? It's a potluck thing. I think cars, aren't they?
Yeah, my first car was an Austin Maestro. Yeah, Austin Maestro. She was white. Ended up getting a brand new bonnet for her because I had a bit of a tap along the Dover and Deal Road, which was quite scary, but that's the only touch wood accident that I've actually had. But that's years ago. I was only young then, getting old now.
Only as old as the man you feel, or woman you feel, isn't it, as they say?
And then the second car I had was...
That's why I said both, you see, Andy. I thought better be politically correct here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think cars. We've talked a lot about cars. I think that's good. That's really good. I think dangerous situations. I think cars that they can be very, very dangerous if you don't look after them. And it's very important to look after cars. MOT them properly, service them properly. You have to for a reason. Obviously, it's by law, but it's only for your safety at the end of the day. You don't want to take risks on those sort of things. Not nowadays. The amount of cars we get on the roads these days, it's too risky. You don't want to take any risks. Life is important, and you only get one life. And if you're talking about 3 or 4 people in the car, then there's 4 lives at stake. So it's not worth the risk.
No.
Yeah. So what's happening in the news? I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I mean, there's been a lot about Dominic Cummings, hasn't there, tonight?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's a crazy one. I mean, Graham, we touched on this last night on the previous episode, didn't we? About what we thought, and it's a very difficult one. I mean, did anybody see the news today? Did anybody in the chat see the news? I mean, it was on since 3-4 o'clock was it this afternoon?
No, we had a meeting. We were in a Zoom meeting, weren't we, when it was actually on, and that he must have done his briefing, or he's at about 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And of course, we haven't seen it, so we're not quite sure what's gone on.
We're not, but what we know is we certainly know the gist of it, don't we, guys? And of course,
he's not resigning. He's not going to resign.
Is he not?
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's a development.
The top stories, I've just loaded the news up because, like I said, I don't watch television, but the top story is on BBC News, which is the national centre, I suppose, is "I don't regret what I did," is the words of Dominic Cummings.
Right.
So, yeah, he's not regretting it. And he was seen on your feed wearing a tank top. And I mean, that isn't even listed on here. And I mean, it's 2020 and he's wearing a tank top. Really?
Yes, I remember you commented on that, didn't you? Yeah, the tank top, yeah.
Yeah, it's a fashion foobar, that one, isn't it? I mean, really?
Brave, though, isn't he? Eh?
Especially when he's a man that's in the spotlight and he wears a tank top. And it was a blue one. Checkered blue, really. So BBC News is reporting that his full statement on lockdown row. He's gone for a bit of a drive with his family and not obeyed the rules that he set to the PM. Not ideal, really. And then the media caught him. That's the bit he probably regrets, is getting caught. Very sad.
I think you're absolutely right there. I think I'm not sure if this is the case for all politicians, but I think they do feel sometimes, certain politicians, they feel that they've got a bit of extraordinary power. Do you know what I mean? In the sense that they're indispensable, in the sense that they can't be caught. It's like they're above people. And I don't know whether they actually think like that necessarily. I think they just feel that because they are who they are, no one will batter an eyelid. But actually, it's not the case. They are set examples. And I think with Dominic Cummings, I think it's a difficult one because, yes, okay, we understand what the reasoning was by him going up to, was it Derby, wasn't it? Derby's for his, was it Derbyshire?
Durham, County Durham, wasn't it? Then he went to Barnard Castle for, yeah.
Yeah, and it was for family purposes. But then, yes, I mean, people have said, well, with somebody of his stature, surely people could have been more assisting with him down locally in London somewhere. Must have had some family elsewhere. There could have been another option. It's a very difficult one, but I think in a way it was right for him to come out and have a debate about it, or talk about it, whether it wasn't him doing that or whether he was put under pressure to do that. But yeah, it's a difficult one. I mean, but Boris does need him. I mean, obviously they're very connected,
Yeah.
So that's the worry, isn't it? If they lose him, it's a worry. Robin's just put on the comments. He says pretty much watched the whole Cummings briefing. Was 40 minutes late to the show. He actually said
briefings but when the politicians do briefings like the COVID-19 briefings, they don't start straight away. There's always that gap. There's always that period of time, and then it's always happened though, even with prime ministers, isn't it? And other leaders, like especially mentioned Donald Trump, but when Donald Trump basically is coming to do a briefing, and the media are waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and for about half an hour, and then all of a sudden he appears.
Yeah, it's. I think it's a bit rude to be late to your own press conference.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, once you say that you're going to release a statement at a specific time, then try and be there at least near to that time, which is maybe about 10 minutes, 15 minutes tops over or something.
Yeah, I mean, he might be busy, but yeah, it is. I mean, today, obviously, I've been at work. Work comes first. Family comes first. Work comes slightly after that. But this has been on the forefront of my mind all night because I know 2030, I'm on the Ben&Grem Show. So yeah, I've sort of structured my day to be in the right place at the right time. But that's the forces mentality within me. But politicians don't seem to have that same ethos.
You know something, Andy? I think you've just absolutely hit the nail on the very head of the subject. And the reason why I say that is because as a former politician, I used to be an elected councillor, and I was in for 5 years, Graham, wasn't I? Do you remember? This is after the Ben&Grem Show. And my timekeeping is horrendous, and it stayed with me ever since. I can't seem to get us on time, can I, Graham? And the funniest thing is, I'm hosting a regular meeting every week. Every Monday, I host a meeting with a group of politicians who talk about various different things. We've got something coming up soon, which we discussed earlier in the show. Well, I say that earlier in the show, the previous show today that broke up a little bit. So obviously it will come together later. So basically, moral story is this, and I've completely lost thought of what I was saying. Yes, that's right. It was about losing time. Time just disappears, and I'm just a really bad timekeeper. I can get up for work on time. Sometimes I have difficulties, but I am a really bad timekeeper. And the worst thing about it is I know that I'm conscious about it. I'm one of these sort of people that go, right, I've got to do this later, I've got to do that later. But time, I just don't seem to organise my time very well. It's terrible. I don't know whether it's just because of lockdown, because it's a current thing, but I've always suffered with this problem. But I just need to be a bit more on the ball. So I was really, really pleased, Graham, wasn't I, that we managed to get the show going this evening.
Yeah, hallelujah. Especially for this part, because, Andrew, you've been waiting to come in on the show, and I'm just so pleased that we managed to get the issue rectified.
Well, nightmare. For everybody's interest, Graham, you looked it up, didn't you, while I was trying to rectify the problem? Actually, there has been some problems tonight, hasn't there, with Facebook Live, hasn't there? Since
the 22nd, they've had some issues to do with people being able to connect to Facebook Live. But it can be many issues. It could be their own internet connection.
Right.
It could be where too many people are streaming. And bearing in mind, we're in lockdown, so there's probably an awful lot of live streaming going on at the moment.
I've noticed YouTube's been slower over the last few weeks uploading to it. It's the servers at their end getting used that much, uploading the video to it, especially when I'm doing 4K. So an hour is about 60 gig. So I'm trying to shove 60 gig into their servers, and it is taking a lot longer than normal. And it's for what I think it's for the reasons that you're stating, Graham. It's everyone sat at home watching YouTube, going on Facebook. I imagine Netflix is getting hammered currently.
Yeah, I bet it is.
Yeah,
it is at my mum's. That's where I'm watching The Crown at the moment.
Yeah.
Now then, Andy, Ben Talbot says.
Oh, hello, Ben. Yeah, I was out exploring with Ben the other. When was it? A couple of months ago, just before all this crazy virus happened. Yeah, I was out with Ben. He was showing me some things that he found on his walks. Yeah, Ben's a good guy. He's part of a photography club that I joined to actually learn how to use my camera, because it's got lots of buttons on it, and I didn't know what they were for.
Do you know?
So yeah.
I love it, don't you? I mean, you know, not only do you love something like exploration, but the fact that you've got so many different things to use to create your videos is just great fun. I mean, I never thought I'd ever so into. I mean, it's, you know, what's annoying about life sometimes is that, you know, you get into something, but sometimes you don't get into these things until later life, and then you realise, oh, do you know what? I wish I'd have done that when I was younger. Do you know what I mean? I wish I would have taken that on and done that through school, and I could have been something later.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know it's never too late at present, but like, what do they call it? Like media, isn't it? Stuff like that. It's just fantastic. And I'm picking up the boat a bit late, or picking up the, you know, but I love it. I love it. And you said something, Andy, which has really impressed me. You know, you can learn so much about this stuff. You said about 4K. Filming in 4K is incredible.
I've seen the quality. It's quite amazing.
Have you got equipment that can do that? Have you?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the latest GoPro, all the cameras are available. This will record in 4K. That is a good little camera, to be honest. I did a review on these recently. I was having a lot of problems with GoPros, and I've actually found you need to format. You can't format the cards in them, the SD cards within the GoPro itself. So you can format them within the camera, but it leads to problems if you take them out and low-level format them in a Windows PC. Then they work. They're absolutely faultless. But I've only just recently discovered that. But yeah, they'll record in 4K. The 90D, the Canon 90D, that records in 4K, no problem. And then I've got a Panasonic. I've got a custom PC that I've built. I bought an XBT Panasonic Toughbook, but I've put different RAM in it, and I've put a 2 terabyte solid state hard drive in it, and upgraded the cooling on it. It was getting really hot. Processing 4K, because it's the sort of data that you're sort of pushing through the processor is absolutely massive, and it doesn't have any breaks in it. Whereas, say, a computer game, say if you're playing Call of Duty or something that's got loads of graphics in it, the graphics card utilizes a lot of the power. The power is from the graphics card. Whereas with raw video, with a JPEG, the processor has to deal with it because it isn't rendered. So the processor's got to process that information and send it up to YouTube. So yeah, you do need a good PC for it. I mean, I'd really love a Mac, but the equivalent Mac to the specs of my PC would be 4 times the price.
Yeah, it's a name you pay for. It's the tag, isn't it?
Well,
yeah, I think it works. I think Macs do work, and they are better. It's just I simply can't afford it. I mean, you're looking at $4,000 for a laptop it's got the capability. I mean, down here, I don't know if you're able to see it. This is a Mark 1 iPad Air, and it still works absolutely perfectly. It's totally faultless. I use that as a screen for my drone. Excuse me for that. Don't know if that picked up. Yeah, but
you've just touched on something.
I am. Apologies. I'm just telling you how good it is. I've just find my iPad on it. Sorry about that. That would happen live, wouldn't it?
Don't worry
about that, everybody.
Don't worry. We've had a lot going on this evening, so
yeah, technology.
It adds to the memory of tonight. It's been a great show so far.
Ben mentioned something earlier about he wished he'd got into about doing a live stream. And can you remember the 80s, the sort of pre-Ant and Dec, but you know the actual show going live when they used the BBC used to broadcast live.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the equipment that they needed to do that, to actually broadcast
pretty heavy
live
stuff
back then? Yeah, and now all you need is you just need a mobile phone. You know, it's just in one of them. You just go live stream off that. It's how technology has come on in 20 or 30 years is absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, whoever would have thought, even in the day that they did, they managed to get a satellite in the sky. I mean, that is something else, isn't it? I mean, that's just another thing altogether. That's way beyond my capabilities.
Satellites.
We've got to thank NASA.
Satellites.
But no, I was going to say, you're talking about PCs. I mean, my PC setup is also custom, and in fact, that's actually another thing altogether. Custom PCs are really good fun. I've learned a lot by building my own PC, like yourself. And I run a Ryzen 5 2600, which is not too bad. I'm an AMD fan. That's what I'm running. I've got 32 gigabyte RAM, Corsair RAM, and I've got you say about the cooler side of things. You do need a cooler, especially when you're doing editing, like you say. But I've got a Corsair, is it H52 or something? H something or other cooler. Fantastic. It does its job, And I've got about 9 fans on my PC altogether. When you count every single fan, there's 9 fans. I mean, but it still gets hot. I mean, I can feel the heat here, from the PC. And that's just because I don't know whether it's because I'm running extra screens or whether it's because we're doing this live stream. Obviously, it is putting data through that processor, isn't it? But you do need a fairly reasonably good PC. But I never did all this stuff before because I think, like you, I mean, I don't know. I just felt that the system I had before wasn't capable, and so I never even gave it a thought.
Well, you just touched on something there. It's cooling that people usually overlook when they upgrade the RAM, they upgrade the processor, and then they leave the standard cooling in, and then they bake everything to death. That is something that does get overlooked a lot. Solid state hard drives have revolutionised customizing PCs, I believe. I mean, one moment.
A friend of mine at work, he was saying about solid state hard drives, and I actually was brought on to the idea of the M.2s. I don't know if you know about the M.2 SSDs.
I don't know what that is.
Well, it's basically
M.2.
Yeah, M.2. So I think there's another name for it as well, but M.2s or M2s, they are like basically a hard drive, but it's in the form of a chip, and it actually goes on directly onto the motherboard.
Okay, is that a bit like MSATA?
Yes.
Got a bit deeper, haven't we? Yeah, MSATA. Yeah, I've just recently, today, in fact, put a new MSATA hard drive in that. You won't be able to see it, but it's a Panasonic ToughPad, and that's now running MSATA, which is straight onto the motherboard. Yeah, there's no. That's got a new MSATA disk in it. I just got that from Crucial. That's
Crucial. Yeah, I've got one in my system. Do you know? I've had a few problems though with my Crucial because I had to reset my whole system. I had a problem with it. I deleted the wrong file, silly enough. So I had to reset the whole thing back to Windows. And when I booted back up again, I've got 2 hard drives that aren't displaying. So I've looked in the device manager and I thought, well, that's strange. So I looked in the device manager and I was playing around in there, and it didn't show up. And then I looked on the boot manager, but they were there. But the weirdest thing is, it's showing them as a device, not because you can look at devices and it shows it as a device. It's not showing it as a physical hard drive. Really weird.
I've had that before, and I didn't find the solution. My friend Alex did, and long story short, is BIOS is registering those hard drives as something else, and then Windows is using that information and saying that's a device.
That's what it's doing. Yeah.
Yeah. I had to do a CMOS reboot, which was power everything down and remove, the little button battery that's on the motherboard.
Yeah.
Got to remove that and completely reset the motherboard, completely dead, and then button battery back in, do a CMOS reboot on it. And then it registers the devices again, and it registers your hard drives as hard drives and your RAM as RAM.
But it won't affect your Windows system, though, will it? Your files?
No, your files are stored on whatever the OSC is, whatever your C drive is, and then it just boots back up. It's resetting the BIOS. It's the BIOS that is not registering the changes.
Interesting. Well, there you go, folks. So I hope that information not only just helped me, because that's very important information, but it might have helped some of the viewers. PC stuff, great stuff. You can learn so much about PCs as well, can't you?
Well, I've learned quite a lot there myself. So yeah.
Yeah, it's got a bit diverse, hasn't it? We haven't talked about exploring much. Cameras, cars, and PCs.
I know.
Yeah.
But we're getting back to the exploring. We definitely got to make a trip up to you. Definitely.
Well, I might be coming down because I've got family in Kent. They live in Laban, and then my colleagues live in Folkestone and top end near Manston Airport. I can't remember what the town's called where he lives.
Ramsgate.
Yeah. Ramsgate, that's it. Yeah, he lives in Ramsgate. Yeah, so I need to go
Well, maybe
go down
when
there
you
one day.
do get down this end, then maybe we can hopefully arrange something.
Yeah, we'll meet up and we'll do an explore somewhere.
Yeah,
Get it
that'd
all
be
organised.
nice.
Yeah, and I'll do it in my normal format where I've got a set list. Sets as in being places to visit, and I sort all the permissions out before I go and everything. Then I'll have a little script of everything, and we'll sort it all out. And we could even do it as a video and put it up on the Ben&Grem Show.
Oh, that'd be great.
Do like a cut scene to it. Yeah, do it as a...
Fantastic. Yeah, we could edit it in and put it up here. Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, cool.
Bit of collaboration there. That's great, isn't it? Well, fantastic. I'm pretty sure the viewers would also like that as well, wouldn't they? I'm hoping. I'm pretty sure they will.
I hope so.
Yeah, definitely. I think why not? I mean, after all, I think mostly people are interested in new things, aren't they? So even if most people aren't aware of this stuff, send something new every now and again, and keeps it all fresh, doesn't it? Sounds great. So, Grem, we have a busy schedule on the Ben&Grem Show in the next week, don't we? We have got a lot coming up.
We've got a planning stage. Well, unless you've already thought of some of the planning stage, but we've got a planning meeting so we can organise Sundays. Sunday's one, and Monday. So.
Well, we said already before, haven't we, that it doesn't matter what it is you want to discuss. I mean, anything in the comments box, pop it in, anything at all. However, whatever's on your mind, we'll discuss it. And that's the most important thing about this, isn't it? It's not just what we're here to talk about. It's about anything that you guys as well want to talk about, anything that you want to share about your day or experiences. And that's what it's about.
Just put it up on our page and send a private message on the page. It's not
any stories, you know what I mean? If there's any stories that you have that you can maybe incorporate in what we're talking about, or otherwise, please feel free, jump in. And we're really, really grateful to have Andy on. And Andy,
thank you, Andy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Say, Andy, are you looking forward? So you say about lockdown. I mean, I bet you're itching, aren't you, to get back out there and explore?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm used to isolation from being in the forces, being away and things like that, and not being allowed to do things. But the last sort of couple of weeks, it started to get to me, to be honest. I want to get back out again, and I want to get back to the program. So I've got a preset program that I want to get back to. Luckily, we'd got a lot of filming done before this happened, so I'm still sort of putting videos up twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays, of places we've already been, but I'm starting to run out, and if this goes on for another month, then I will run out, and that is quite irritating, really. Obviously, I respect what Boris Johnson's doing, and I'll follow his rules and guidelines because he's, like I say, he's the boss, so I'll just do what he says. But yeah, it is irritating all the same. I just wish this dreaded virus would just bugger off and let us all get back to normal.
I think we've all got some strong words for the virus.
We have. And do you honestly, about the virus, and we haven't spoke too much about that this evening, but do you think that people's perceptions on things have changed? Like the way that people see each other, the way that we think about things. Do you know what I mean? I mean, there's been talk about that, hasn't there? About how people are changing, maybe.
Hopefully it'll make people wash hands and things more often. Because I think there's a element of society that think hand washing is ridiculous and they don't do it. And they'll just basic hygiene. If everybody, I mean, a lot of people out there wash their hands and they've got good hygiene all the time. I'm not saying they haven't, but a certain core of people don't. You see it all the time, if you're out for a meal and you go to a pub and you're in the toilets, you see people come in, use the toilet and walk straight back out. And, I don't say anything because it'll end up in, confrontation.
Yeah,
you just think, why can't you? The sink's there, use it, And that is what spreads bacteria. People don't wash their hands.
Especially in places like pubs. Do you say restaurants and stuff?
Yeah.
Pubs as well, in pubs.
public places, this is why Boris has shut them all. I mean, I like the pub, but he's closed it, so I can't go. But I respect his decision. I like the gym. I want to get back in the gym. That's annoying me. But it's closed for a reason. Hopefully the people that don't wash their hands will start washing their hands. But no, I think 6 months it'll be back to normal. Everybody will just forget.
Do you think
people,
6 months from now?
Society forget quickly.
They will
move on quickly. There'll be a new thing. There'll be a new something else has happened. I mean, if we think back to, I jokingly replied to somebody's comment on Facebook the other month about, what do they miss? And I just jokingly said, I miss PPI adverts. Back before all this was on, they were the most annoying radio advert going. But I'm just saying I miss those. Give me, have I got PPI adverts back? And then I can just go to the gym again and go to the pub. But we can't, we've got this now.
It's ironic, isn't it? How all these things once before we couldn't stand, we actually would love back. The normality.
I'll just sit and listen to them. If I can just have the deli counter open at the supermarket and go to the gym again, But it's very sad. People are dying. People are getting very poorly, and it isn't just elderly people that was sort of reported at first. It's younger people. It's nurses. I mean, my mother works for the NHS. People are getting ill. People are dying, and it's very sad. Hopefully, this virus just jolly well put a rod in, and we can get back to some sort of normality.
Indeed,
people die all the time.
Yeah, Andy, you're absolutely right. And indeed, what's scary as well is that it's still happening now. I mean, as much as we've been in lockdown for as long as we have, there's still people losing lives, and not just in this country, but also abroad. You think you're coming to the end, and then you hear another story that someone's passed with it, and so passed away, and so on. So it's like, when is the right time? When I kind of respect the government in a way, because it's a difficult one, isn't it? Regardless, it's an international crisis. So when is the right time to do these things? I mean, I said on last night's show, didn't we, Graham? I mean, one of the highlights, or one of the news reports we had, was that come up about Spain, about wanting to release their lockdown. Well, and they talk about doing that in July. I mean,
for holidays, wasn't it, for us?
For holidays,
I mean, Brits to go holiday.
But they are. I don't know if they have any. I don't know, Graham. Andy, have they had any cases? I mean, I would assume they have.
Oh, they have. They were hit quite badly, weren't they? At the start. I just wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't go. Not at the moment. I honestly, holidays out of the country, you wouldn't get me on one until probably 2022.
Yeah.
Now. I want to make sure everything's gone. It's probably going to take that long for a the necessary medication. But they reckon it's going to be the end of the year, but I don't think that. I think that's just to keep us chilled in a chilled.
September, I think it's been said that September they reckon the cure vaccine will come out. Well, we'll see, but
we'll see. Well, it's early stages, and it's.
It'd be nice to see the back of it, but I think it's wishful thinking, but it'd be nice for it to just be gone. But it's going to be a long time before everything is back to normal, and there will be a new normal. There won't be bars packed full of people. I don't know. Give it a couple of years. But then there was a bad flu. Can anybody remember the flu of 1998, 99? That killed a lot of people.
Yeah.
I had the flu and I was really ill. I was in the forces back then, and that was the only time that I ever had to ring my unit up. So I can't come back. I'm that ill. I was that ill. I couldn't get the train. I couldn't sit on a train for 6 hours and go back to my unit.
Wow.
And I explained myself to them, and they were actually all right about it. I thought they could have gone mad. And I can remember explaining to this old and bold warrant officer at my unit, and I thought, he's going to go nuts. When I tell him I don't feel very well and I can't come back. And he was totally all right with it. He said, look, this isn't like you, and I hope you're not taking the mick, you know what I mean? But yeah, I was ill for 2 weeks. I went back, and then because I'd done too much and I went back to work, I caught it again. You know, I sort of drained my immune system and it took over me again. I was ill for another 2 weeks. So I had it for 5 weeks, and I was a young, fighting, fit man then, early 20s, and it got hold of me. But people forgot that very quickly, that flu epidemic. But that was pre-social media. And the media didn't seem to sensationalise things quite as much then. They don't let things go. I mean, I went on BBC News earlier. Let's have a look now. We'll just count up the headlines that include Dominic Cummings as 1, 2, 3, 4. The top 4 stories are all about Dominic Cummings. And yeah, he's got his tank top on in one of them, and we don't even refer to it.
I mean, did he go to the gym? I mean, tank tops. I mean, right.
I mean, I don't think they looked. The only person that looked good in a tank top was Terry Wogan. He looked all right in a tank top, and I respect him. I miss Terry, to be honest. He was a jolly nice chap.
Yeah.
But, yeah, not so good for Dominic. But, yeah, the BBC, the sensationalising the story. I mean, yeah, he's done wrong. He's not apologised. But is that really the top 4 stories of what's going on at the minute?
See, you touch on a very, very good point there, because I've seen also on like places like Facebook where people are sort of saying, well, actually, there's a, the plot thickens. Is there a reason for this? Is there a reason why this story's come about? Is it because they want us to be stalled on what's really going on? Take our minds off the current affairs. 100 different questions, I'm sure. Yeah, I think it has been overly done, hasn't it? This very particular article has been pushed so much by the media, and I think. And I respect Piers Morgan, but I do think he's been a bit heavy on the subject. I think he's gone a bit far with it, hasn't he? Do you think?
Yeah.
I respect Piers Morgan. I don't watch TV, like I say, but yeah, I respect him. I mean, he's done wrong in the past himself.
Yeah.
And he has apologised for it. He did very wrong, but we've all made mistakes. But that is the media. That is the media whirlwind that he works within. So,
yeah. Indeed. But it's very rare, though, isn't it, that you get a politician apologise for doing something wrong. I mean, that's politics, isn't it? I mean, I think, I don't know, when was the last time we had a politician come out and say, I got it wrong? I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there has been. But it's not commonly known, is it, for a politician to stand up and say, I got this wrong? I mean, they tend to fight to the end regardless, don't they?
Yeah, stand by their beliefs.
Yeah.
I can't think of one, actually. No, now you mention it. I mean, you're a politician. Would you apologise if you made a mistake? Say if you released a statement, then that was proven to be wrong. Would you publicly apologise?
Well, actually, funny you should say this. There was a bit of a scandal, right? And I'm quite happy to talk about it because it did go out publicly anyway. I mean, but I, as a councillor, what's known when you're a councillor is that you pay your council tax in time, right? And I, regardless, I'm not going to do a sob story, but I'll just put it out there very quickly. I have a family, and at this very moment in time, I couldn't afford to pay this particular council tax, and I thought, so I run up a bit of debt, and I remember arranging with the council at the time. I remember saying about how getting this all sorted out, get into a payment plan. But then I was told that I had certain set meetings coming up, and these particular meetings were about budgets. So of course that was going to be a conflict of interest, if you like, in some form. So I was told that they would have to obviously have me rectify the problem immediately, otherwise. But then what materialised from that was I had what we call a full council meeting, and then an officer came to me and said, you've really got to get it sorted out, because otherwise, what was it? He said, I've been told by the Public Eye. There's a paper called the Public Eye, which contacted councils or contact councils, and they asked them about any issues with councillors or so on. And of course, this thing came up. It had to be declared by the council. So they said, look, they're going to issue a statement and they want it to be put out. We've got to get it sorted, And what it was the council's point of view was, at the point in time when I ran into this small little debt, was that they said, well, we just pay off in the payment plan, like councils do. They help people out. But that payment plan became a very much, no, it needs paying now. I took the rug up beneath my feet because I was a councillor and I had these meetings coming up. So I wasn't like the Joe public, I suppose, in that sense. Otherwise I could probably have continued to carry on paying on a payment plan. So anyway, they changed the ball part for me. They moved the goalpost, and I remember trying to call their bluff. I said, well, look, fine. I said, look, put it out publicly, and then I'll just issue a statement afterwards saying why I felt I ran into a bit of difficulty. And I didn't want to get overly embarrassed by it. But I said, look, I made a mistake. I would have got to that point, and I think if it had have caused me any problems at that time, I probably would have come out with something further to add to. It was only until I think it was last year, somebody in politics contacted me, somebody I used to work with within the party I was involved with, said to me, did you see the article from the public eye? I said no. And of course, it had been posted out, but it didn't get posted out immediately, or at least I wasn't aware of it. I don't know. It was, deep in the realms of publications. It wasn't so accessible, but it was out. It did go out, and I thought they never went with the story. So it does exist, and I don't even know how to find it today. I never really asked to find it. I mean, it was, But I think if I had to make an apology, I think I'd say, look, it was a mistake. I mean, it was a mistake, but there was a difference of opinion. Some would say, well, actually, you couldn't afford to pay it. You went into a payment plan. And others would say, oh, yeah, but you should know better because you're a politician and you're on this much money. But actually, I was a local politician, so I wasn't on, 80-odd thousand a year, is it, that MPs are on at the moment? I mean, local councillors, they're on, 4,000 or 5,000 a year. Big difference, but neither here or there to say. You have a responsibility.
You can't live on $5,000. You can't live on $5,000 at all.
You can't. So. It's contribution based. I mean, basically, the idea of that payment was to, as a councillor, to aid you in paper costs, like stationery and things like that.
It's an office fee.
Yeah, basically that, because you would have to print things, you would have to email, you would have to use the internet and stuff like that. So it's almost like use that to, but with that, you had to every year declare your expenses. And of course, you fill out forms and you put it in. And if you haven't spent anything, you put it in. If you have spent something, you put it in. But you have to note, nil returns. And that stays with the council for a year, and then it restarts for the next year. So it's always documented. So yeah, even in local government, as like national government, it's very similar. You have to be cut and dry. You have to be nose clean, do the right by everything, and you do fall into mistakes, and especially if it comes to money, it's an unfortunate one, but it happens. But it's just one of those things. But you could also say, was it politics? I mean, obviously, I was of a political party. There was other parties in the same vicinity that probably would have loved to have used that story against us for different reasons, not because they want to have a go at me personally, but because slap at that party, and that's what happens. And I think that's what's really happened with Dominic Cummings here. You've got the likes of you've got the Labour Party, and they've been whacking that story quite heavily because they are the main opposition, and you can't fault them for that because that's what oppositions do. However, I think really the story has been drawn out quite somewhat, and rightly or wrongly, there is bigger matters going on in the world, isn't there? So,
I believe so. Yeah.
Round about the houses for that one. I do apologise, folks.
All right. No, I think
that's you all over, Ben. That's you all over, isn't it?
Disclaimer. Yeah.
I think so. What you were saying there, Ben, is you would apologise for something. You would apologise for something, which is nice, but I don't think you needed to apologise for that. For being a bit poor doesn't need an apology. That's I've had times where I've been hard up. I've literally had no money, and it is scary. You think, I don't know how I'm going to pay my rent this month.
Do you know what I was more scared about at the time? It wasn't actually being in debt at the time with the council. All of a sudden, I would add. I mean, as much as I was in debt with them, it was controlled debt. I mean, it was one of those where it was being organised through the council, even as a councillor, and it was, my partner was dealing with it, in fact. And it was only until these couple of meetings were coming up, and it was about budgets, and it comes around about sort of March, April time, the budgets in the council, and it's about local spending and everything else. They said, you can't attend these meetings unless you're absolutely clear. And what I was told actually at the time was, mention no names, of course, was I was told I had to, if I did attend the meeting, I had to stand up and declare it to the rest of the committee. And I thought, I don't want to do that. And the same applied for when I went to the full council meeting. And bearing in mind, at the party that we were at the time, we were a small party. And it was a case of, right, if I turn up, I've got to stand up and say to the whole entire chamber, you know, I've got to leave because at this item because blah blah blah. You know, I've got council issues financially. Oh, you know what I mean? And I thought, I'm just not going to do that. So in the end, I didn't turn up at the meeting. But my colleagues of the party knew at the time about this, and then they, well, as fine as they could be with it. One of which understood because, you know, she was a lady in a situation where she understood, you know. But I have to say, I suppose it's like all things, isn't it? You get some people that would say, oh yeah, but you should know better because you're a politician. And then you get some would say, but no, but actually he's still a human being and he's still got to pay his bills. And so it's a mixture, isn't it? And like similarly to Dominic Cummings, you could ask yourself, put yourself in some other shoes of a difference of opinion. You could say, well, actually, okay, maybe he wasn't supposed to go out. He did make the rules, yes, but okay, he had to do something with his child. He had no childcare, so it's a difficult situation he's in. But then you should also say, but actually, is it because he's, you know, in the position he's in? Should he really have taken on those risks? Being in the position he's in, it's such a, you know what I mean? It's a tricky one. But I think the truth is in this is that, you know, politician or not, I think at the end of the day they are still human in the sense that they were elected just like the rest of us, whether it's local government or national and as much as they hold positions, yes, people do expect something of them, and rightly so that they do. But at the end of the day, they are still human. At the end of the day, they still, you know, so they still will make mistakes. So I don't know whether we should be so hard on them in certain situations. However, I don't think you can argue with, well, you know, Dominic Cummings, he was the one that made these rules, and how, as an advisor to the Prime Minister, he go and break them. It does seem a little bit of a slap in the face. I get it. I get that. I think a simple apology maybe have helped, but I don't know. It's a tricky one. It is a tricky one, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he probably knew about the report of him that he was to go out, but then they just sit on it and they just wait for it to go out. I mean, you know, they would have known that it's gonna go, so why didn't they just take the opportunity and just release their apology? It'd still be bad, but not as. It wouldn't be as bad as it is now because they just let it grow and grow. Resentment.
Try and soften the blow somewhat. Try and diffuse it.
Exactly.
However, he must have advisors that say, look, don't do that. Wear a tank top. Divert the blame. I don't know. Yeah, they must. I can only assume that he knows more than I do because I'd just apologise and be like, look, I've made a mistake. I'll sort of do as I say, not as I do, and I've done the opposite.
I think people would respect him, wouldn't they?
Quite probably.
Well, so what's made it really quite a pleasure is the fact that we were able to get...
This is Ben's closure, so get ready for about 22 minutes.
Okay.
No.
I'm sat comfortably.
Yeah.
Popcorn.
Yeah, I think you know, the benefit by tonight's show as well is that we were grateful enough to have you as Andy as a guest come on, and you came on the time you were due to come on, which was great. And then of course we haven't had any hiccups since, and that's the most exciting and best thing that's happened this evening. And that, you know,
yeah, I am pleased with that as well, mate, because
it was all the problems we had earlier.
Awful.
But we had nothing to say really, Grem, did we earlier? Really?
Well, we had a few bits, but we didn't really have the time today to do like a quick run of it and in brief, because we got held up on that other Zoom meeting.
We just wanted to speak to the viewers, didn't we? That's the main thing.
You just needed to get on.
Yeah. Well, it's been a huge pleasure, hasn't it? And again, thanks, Andy, for coming on and sharing your information. And we would like to see some of that stuff. You know, when of course this lockdown's all over, hope everybody will be able to watch your stuff and exploration. And we'd love to have some of that material up on the page. You know, it'd be great. You know, share some of that stuff. And more importantly, to get together as well, that would be good, wouldn't it? You know, going out and about and having a look at some different locations would be good. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that would look very good.
Let us know when you're down.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, you're welcome, and thank you very much indeed for having me on your show.
You're welcome, Andy. And last but not least, I want to say to everybody, thank you coming along and taking part in the stream. For those of you that have come in and out since we had a few technical issues. And just lastly, I want to mention as well that for those of you that have been watching the stream, that if you want to take part as like Andy today, you're more than welcome to do so. As like Andy, just drop us a comment in the message box of the group page, and we will organise it for you. And again, we want people on because we want to hear difference of opinion, different stories, mixes things up a little bit, and it keeps things fresh. And that's the most important thing. And we are very grateful for Andy to come on, and we'll be having Andy back on again in the near to distant future because he's been an absolute star for us, and we really appreciate his time. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your evening, Andy, and the viewers. Enjoy the rest of your evenings. Graham?
Yeah, thank you so much, Andy, again. I know we keep saying thank you, but we look forward to having you back on.
Yes.
Keep in contact with us and drop us that link through the messaging, and we'll get that put straight up on the page for you.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I'll do that when I get off here. So I can't multitask.
No,
I can't operate my phone and speak and things. I just end up in a big mumble.
Brilliant. No, you've been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much, and we'll speak soon, and we'll make it soon as well. We'll get you back on really soon, and maybe very, very soon. I mean, if we don't get anybody coming in the meantime, that wants to come on the show, then we'll have options and open opportunities. So yeah,
could possibly be Monday coming then.
Could well be. No, I'll just say we will definitely get you in soon because it's been a huge pleasure, and I think it's been interesting for the viewers as well to mix it up and change some of the narrative. And it's good. Nothing wrong with exploration because it's something that I'm into, and Graham, you're very much into. And obviously, when things start tidying up and lockdown disappears, we would love to get onto that, and add that as another adventure to the stream. So
yeah, we could put something together, put a sort of a script of a particular place that we want to talk about together, and we can sort of discuss it openly. Yeah, that'd be very enjoyable.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Right. Well, thank you very much then, guys. And nice to see you.
Thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Andy. Take care and speak to you soon.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Yeah.